Good morning, students, and welcome you all once again. And today is the last class on Ind AS 116. So, friends, today is the sixth class on Ind AS 1, fifth or sixth class on Ind AS 116. And we have discussed so many concepts in the last 5 class. Okay. So, we'll start with a question. Will not start today. I will not start with the revision. I will start with a question. Okay. And then I'll complete 2 concepts along with the question. Okay. Then I will do the entire revision of Ind AS 116 in 20 to 25 minutes. Sounds good? I think that will be okay for all of you, right?
Right.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So let's start with a question, first of all. Yeah. I hope my Excel file is visible. Is it visible?
Yes, visible.
Entity X, a lessee entered into a lease agreement. Entity X, a lessee, entered into a lease agreement with entity Y, who is a lessor, to lease an entire floor of a shopping mall for a period of 9 years. The annual lease rent of 70,000 is payable at the year end. To carry out its operations smoothly, entity X simultaneously entered into another agreement, which is a facilities agreement, with entity Y for using certain other facilities owned by entity Y, such as passenger lifts, DG sets, power supply infra, parking space, etc., which are specifically mentioned in the agreement for annual service charges amounting to rupees 1 lakh. As per the agreement, the ownership of the facilities shall remain with entity Y. Lessee's incremental borrowing rate is 10%. Lessee's incremental borrowing rate is given. So lessor IRR or lessee IBR? Lessee IBR is given, right? Lessee IBR is given here. The facilities agreement clearly specifies that it shall be coexistent and conterminous with lease agreement. The facility agreement shall stand terminated automatically on termination or expiry of lease agreement. Means both these agreements complement each other. Both these agreements are related agreements. Entity X has assessed that the standalone price of lease agreement is 1,20,000 per year and standalone price of the facilities agreement is 80,000 per year. Entity X has not elected to apply the practical expedient in paragraph 15 of Ind AS 116 of not to separate non-lease component from lease component, and accordingly it separate non-lease component from lease component. How will entity X account for lease liability as at the commencement date? First of all, tell me, this question relates to which portion of the Ind AS 116? Anyone who can help me here?
It separates from the contract from lease and non-lease.
Non-lease component. So this question is related to separation of lease and non-lease component. You remember we have covered this aspect. The standard has given you an option. It has given you a choice that if you want to split a lease and non-lease component, you can do that. Or if you don't want to split the lease and non-lease component, then you can consider the entire contract as a lease contract, right? So there is a practical expedient which is available in the standard, and standard says that if you are not able to break between a lease or non-lease, or you don't have an intention to break, you don't want to break, then you can also apply a practical expedient and you can consider the entire payment as a lease payment. Okay. So in this question, if you see, the standalone price of lease agreement and non-lease agreement is given. Yes. 1,20,000 is the standalone price of lease agreement, and 80,000 is the standalone price of maintenance agreement, facility agreement. But in the actual contract, what are the prices?
70,000 and 1 lakh.
70,000 and 1 lakh rupees. If you see here, the total period of lease is 9 years. Annual lease rental of 70,000 is payable at the year end. And the facility agreement, this talks about the annual service charges of 1 lakh rupee. So what is the total payment here? What is the total payment here? The total payment is how much? The total payment is 1,70,000. The total payment is 1,70,000 rupees, right? So if you see this particular aspect, so the lease component, the lease rent, this entity is paying 70,000. The maintenance agreement, this entity is paying 1 lakh. However, the value is 120 and 80. So what is the total value as per the standalone price?
2 lakh.
2 lakhs.
2 lakh. And what is the total consideration this entity is paying? The lessee is paying
1,70,000.
1,70,000. So for 2 lakh rupee of the total agreement, for the 2 lakh rupee of the market value, standalone value, the lessee is paying 170. At the first glance, what is the meaning of this? For 2 lakh market value, you are paying 170. What is the meaning of this?
So we have to allocate.
It's paying lower than that market value.
It is paying lower than the market value. I am talking about overall contract. For 2 lakh rupee, value of goods and services, I am paying 1,70,000 rupees. It means in the entire contract, I got a discount. Correct? I have negotiated and lessor agrees to provide me the space and the maintenance facility and the maintenance services at 1,70,000 rupees, means 30,000 rupees a discount. Okay, so that is fair. But now for 1,20,000 rupees of a lease agreement, the market value of the rental is 120, but the lessee is paying only 70. And the market value of the maintenance is 80. The lessee is paying 1 lakh. What does this mean? This means there is a nexus between the agreements, right?
Yes.
And probably the lessor and lessee. So lessee is saying, I don't have any problem. I have to pay 170. You can, if you want to take 50,000 rupees as a rent and 120 as a maintenance, I'm okay. Till the time I end up paying 1,70,000, I am okay. This is what lessee is saying. But from the substance of the agreement, from the substance of the arrangement, to reflect a true and fair accounting, do you think 70,000 is the right amount of the lease payment? Answer is no. So what should we do? What should we do here? First of all, solution. In the solution, tell me what is the total consideration paid? What is the total consideration paid?
170.
1,70,000.
The total consideration paid is 70,000 plus 1 lakh. The total consideration paid is 1,70,000. Okay. 1,70,000. What is the standalone price? Standalone price. What is the standalone price? Standalone price of lease component
1,20,000.
and non-lease component. The standalone price of lease and non-lease component is 1,20,000 is the standalone price of the lease component, and what was there? 80,000, right? 80,000. 120 and 80. What is the total? The total is 2 lakh, right? The total is 2. Now tell me, what should I do for finding the consideration on account of lease component and the consideration on account of non-lease component. How can I allocate this? Tell me.
Allocate in the proportion of this lease and non-lease component.
Yes.
120
So I
by
need to allocate this 1,70,000, the ratio of lease and non-lease component. Allocation. This is my standalone price. This is my allocation. So 170 multiply by 120 divide by 2 lakh. 170 multiply by 80 divide by 2 lakh. 170. This is the allocation. Okay. Yeah. This is the allocation. Now, what is the ask of the question? How will entity X account for lease liability as at the commencement date? How can I calculate the lease liability?
present value of lease payments.
Present value of lease payment, year, amount, present value factor, present value. Now here, the student used to make some mistakes. And what is the mistake? We'll tell you. And let me see whether you guys are making that mistake or not. Let me see that. What is the amount here? 170 or something else?
1,02,000.
Neha, what should be the amount here? It should be 170 or 1,02,000.
Sir, 170.
170?
Yes.
Chitra, what's your view? It should be 170 or 1,02,000. Yeah. Saminathan, what about you?
Sir, 1,02,000, sir.
Why?
Because we are going to ask them to separate it. So lease component we will be booking it separately. So maintenance will be paid as and when is due. It separates the non-lease component from the lease component. It's
You are
clearly mentioned.
absolutely right. Ind AS 116 is not applicable to the non-lease component. Ind AS 116 is applicable to the lease component. When you are breaking the lease and non-lease, and I also told you that non-lease component has to be recognized as an expense as and when it got accrued. Okay. So you have to consider only lease component for the purpose of Ind AS 116 accounting. What is your lease payment? Right? Your lease payment is payment on account of lease component. So here 1,70,000 will not be considered. Here only 1,02,000 will be considered. Okay, 1,02,000. Sir, then what will happen for this 68,000? I'll tell you. Okay. So I'll give you the complete accounting entry, not to worry. What is my present value factor? What is the discount rate at the rate of
10%, 1,1.10.
10%. It is given, then it is given for 10%. And the life of the lease term is 9 years. Okay, 10%. Equal to 1 divided by 1.1 divided by 1.1. So on and so forth. Present value is this much. Five at 7,420. What is the accounting entry on the day one? What is the accounting entry?
ROE asset to lease liability.
Right of use
to lease liability. So at the commencement date, the entry at the commencement date is is right of use asset account debit to lease liability. What is the entry? What is the entry at the end of the year? At the end of year one? At the end of year
Depreciation.
one. What is the accounting entry at the end of year one?
Depreciation account debit to accumulated depreciation.
Depreciation account debit to accumulated depreciation. Debt to ECDEP. Right. So how much debt will be there? 587420 divide by
9.
9. Okay. This is the value of the depreciation. Then what is the next entry? What is the next entry?
Maintenance expenses also.
Interest cost on lease liability. Interest cost account debit. Interest expense account debit. To what? To
Lease liability.
Lease liability.
lease liability. Interest cost account debit to lease liability. And what is the interest cost at the end of the first year?
10% of
10%
5 lakh
of what? 587420 multiply by 10%, right? Then you will make a lease payment. Right? So
Yes, sir.
lease liability account debit. Credit bank. 2 bank 170 or 2 bank 1,02,000?
170.
2 bank 1?
70.
2 bank 170. Yes, 1,70,000. But my lease liability, should I debit my lease liability by 170 also?
No, sir. Lease liability is that only that portion alone. Balance
1,02,000. 1,02,000. Lease liability
Yeah.
debit is 1,02,000 because this is something which you have discounted. आपने
Yes, sir.
discount भी तो यही किया है ना? You have discounted 1,02,000 for 9 years. So this is what you are paying on account of lease liability. So where the differential will go?
It's a maintenance cost. Maintenance expense.
Expenses, or let's say facility expenses. Expenses account debit. Facility expenses account debit. Okay. 68,000. Neha, Chitra, is that clear? Is this clear now?
Yes, sir.
So basically, non-lease component has to be recognized as an expense as and when it gets accrued. Okay. So only you need to consider your lease payment for discounting and for creating an interest also, for charging an interest also. Okay. So this is what I wanted to discuss in terms of this question. Okay. And we covered this concept. We have covered or not covered this concept?
Covered, sir. Already.
Yes, covered.
We have already covered this concept, right? Okay. So let's go to another question. I hope the second question is also visible. Question. Just a minute. Let me make the font size bigger for this. Yes, is it visible now?
Yes.
Yeah. Question. Entity X is an Indian entity whose functional currency is Indian rupee. Okay. It has taken a plant on lease from entity Y for 5 years to use in its manufacturing process, for which it has to pay annual lease rentals in arrears of USD 10,000 per year. Have you guys covered Ind AS 21? Have you guys read Ind AS 21?
Not yet covered, sir, but we understood the concept.
Okay. Ind AS 21 is yet to cover, right? So Ind AS 21 is a replica, I would say it's a counterpart standard of accounting standard 11. Have you guys covered AS 11 in your earlier curriculum, CA Inter, or in your articleship days?
Yes,
The
sir.
effect of changes in the foreign exchange rates? Yes? Yeah. So this Ind AS 21 also talks about the effect of changes in foreign exchange rates. For example, if you have entered into a foreign currency transaction, so how you will measure that foreign currency transaction into the local currency. Okay. So this is an accounting standard concept. In Ind AS, the local currency is known as a functional currency for the time being. Okay, for the time being. Why I'm saying for the time being? Because if I have to cover the entire concepts of functional currency and the other aspect, I have to take a session of at least half an hour. Okay. So in Ind AS, in IFRS, instead of local currency, the concept is functional currency. To cut a long story short, functional currency is a currency in which the entity is making the primary transactions. The entity is doing a lot of transactions. It is the primary currency. You can understand that it is a primary currency. This is the currency in the major volume of the business is happening. Okay. So entity X is an Indian entity and INR is a functional currency. INR is a functional currency. Okay. It has taken a plant on lease from entity Y for 5 years, term is 5 years, to use in its manufacturing process, for which it has to pay annual rental in arrears of USD 10,000 every year. So this is a foreign currency transaction. This is a lease transaction, is a foreign currency transaction. The lessor is from US and this lease rental is also getting paid in US dollar. $10,000 every year. Okay. Now my question is, it is saying that for which it has to pay annual rental in arrears. What is the meaning of this? Annual rental in arrears.
It's
At
end
the
of
end,
year.
at the end.
At the end. It is not beginning of the year. It is at the end of the year. Annual rentals in arrears means at the end of the year. Okay. On the commencement date, exchange rate was US dollar 68, means $1 is equal to INR 68, was 1 USD is equal to INR 68. The average rate for year 1 was rupees 69 and at the end of year 1 the exchange rate was 70. So commencement date rate is given. Your spot rate, can I say this as a spot rate? A spot rate is given, average rate is given, and the closing rate. Can I call it as a closing rate at the end
Yes.
of year 1? Yeah.
Yes.
Closing rate at the end of year 1 is also given. Okay. A spot rate is given for 1 US dollar. What is the rate? Is 1 US dollar is equal to INR 68.
8.
And what about average rate? It is INR 69. And what about closing rate? INR 7.
7.
This is the rate which is given. Okay. Yeah. And what is the lease term? What is the lease term in the question?
5 years.
5 years.
Lease term is 5 years. Lease term is 5 years. And what is your annual rental? Annual lease rental?
10,000 US dollars.
10,000 USD.
US dollar. Annual lease rental paid at the end of the year. So I will highly recommend that when you solve these leases question in examination and when you are putting these notes before solving that question, always mark, is it payable in the beginning or payable at the end? Always write. Always write. Okay. This will help you. This will help you in avoiding these kind of mistakes which normally students make. Okay, always write, is it a beginning or is it an end? Okay, yeah. And entity, the incremental borrowing rate of entity X on commencement of the lease for a USD borrowing was 5% per annum. So what is this? This is IBR which is given. What is IBR? 5%. And these are the rates which is given. How will entity X measure the right of use asset and lease liability initially and at the end of year 1? The ask of the question is, you need to tell the paper setter that what is the right of use asset and lease liability on the commencement date and what is the ROU and lease liability at the end of year 1. You need to tell this. Shall we solve this question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's solve this question. The first step, what is the first step? Computation of present value of lease payments. Present value of lease payments. So when I'll compute present value of lease payment, so whether I should convert this 10,000 rupees, $10,000 into INR first, or first I should compute the present value of lease payments in US dollar?
First to complete the present value of the lease payment, then we can convert it.
Then we can convert it. And the second thing, so even though if you have any confusion, just think about, in this question, the spot rate, the commencement date, dollar versus INR rate is given, but the dollar versus INR rate is not given for all the 5 years. Nahi diya na?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is not given. And your lease rentals, your annual lease rentals have to be paid for next 5 years. But here, the spot rate, average rate, closing rate, these rates are only given to restricted to year 1. Okay. So friends, in this case, first I will compute the present value of lease payments, the present value of the lease payments in US dollar. Present value of lease payments in US dollar, in USD. And what is this year? Year ke baad amount. Amount means lease rental, amount in USD. Then PVF, then PV. Year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is my amount in USD?
10,000.
10,000 is my amount in USD. 10,000 is my amount in USD. What is my present value factor? 1 divided by 1.05.
05.
This divided by 1.05. What is my present value? This is my present value. So what is my right of use asset and lease liability in US dollar, in the foreign currency?
43 to 95.
Right of use asset account debit to lease liability. But this is in US dollar. Should I record the amount in US dollar?
No.
I have to record in INR.
Functional currency is INR, sir. We need to convert it into INR.
So how can I record in INR? What value I should use? What exchange rate I should use?
Closing
Sir,
rate?
we need to put the exchange rate of the commencement date.
Sanjay, just think about, you when are you passing this entry? On which date?
Commencement date.
Commencement date. Sanjay, what is the rate on the commencement date? What is the rate? in the beginning.
Spot rate
On the
60.
commencement date, exchange rate was USD 68. It is given in the question.
Yes,
So which rate you will consider?
68.
Commencement date
Commencement.
rate 68. Yes. So in INR, your accounting entry will be, in INR, what will be your accounting entry? Your accounting entry will be this multiply by 68. This multiply by 68. Okay. This will be your accounting entry. Your lease liability and your right of use asset both needs to be converted at the spot rate, being ROU and lease liability converted into INR using the spot rate at the commencement date. Using the spot rate at the commencement date. Any doubt, any challenge, any question up to this level?
Sir, on the year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, instead of that, we can put that PVAF, the annuity factor, in a one line, 10,000 into 4.329. Like
You can
that,
do
we can.
that. You can do that also, Saminathan. The calculation will remain same. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes. So, any question up to this level? Any question? Any doubt?
No.
No? Okay. Now, at the end of year 1, so the ask of the question is, how will entity X measure the right of use asset and lease liability initially, means at the commencement date, and at the end of year 1? Okay. Now, at the end of year 1, means at the reporting date. At the end of year 1. What should I do at the end of year 1? क्या करूं?
Depreciation.
सबसे पहले depreciation. You need to depreciate. What is the accounting entry? Depreciation to
Accumulated.
accumulated depreciation. Debt to ECDEP. What should be the value? The lease term is 5 years. What should be the value?
29,44,044 divided by 5.
Sorry?
29,44,044 divided by 5.
So let me confuse you guys. Okay. So let me confuse you. Whether my depreciation is 43,295 US dollar divided by 5 multiply by closing rate exchange rate. Multiply by closing rate. The exchange rate on the reporting date. Or it should be 29,44,044 divided by 5.
First one, the closing rate. Multiply by closing.
Neha, what's your view?
Sir, the second case, the right of use asset we converted into INR, that is now you abated as a USD, it's INR, sir. 29 lakhs, 44,044 is INR.
It's INR. Yes, it's INR. You're right. Yeah. Yes, what's your view? So whether I should divide by 5, whether I should divide 29,44,044 divided by 5 for depreciation, or I should use 43,295 divided by 5, whatever it comes in USD, multiply by the closing rate. Whether that should be depreciation or 29,44,044 divided by 5 should be depreciation.
Sir, expenses we always booked in as a average rate, sir, actually.
So I think 43,295 divided by 5 and multiply by closing rate.
Multiply by closing. Answer is no. Answer is no. The answer which Sanjay was giving in the first instance, that was right. Friends, when you cover Ind AS 21 and with your limited knowledge on accounting standard 11, So basically what happens in accounting standard or in Ind AS on foreign exchange, there is a concept of monetary item and non-monetary item. Have you heard about this concept, monetary item, non-monetary item?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
You remember your childhood days? Please remember your CA inter days. Monetary item, non-monetary item. What is monetary item? What is non-monetary item? And you're not required to remember your childhood days. If you remember, Ind AS 38, intangible assets. Do you remember intangible assets standard?
Yes.
किसने पढ़ाया आपको इंटेंजिबल एसेट स्टैंडर्ड?
You,
Yes, sir.
किसने
Yes,
पढ़ाया?
sir.
CA
Discuss.
Dr. Alok Garg.
Okay, yes. I have covered that standard, and the definition of intangible asset, if you are able to recall, what is the definition of intangible asset? Non-monetary item, an identifiable non-monetary item without having physical
physical
substance,
substance.
right? So one leg was non-monetary item, and if you look at the notes, you will find I have covered what is monetary item and what is non-monetary item. Okay. So monetary item means that item which can be converted into fixed unit of money. For example, you have sold goods to your customer. Okay. On credit, you are aware that I have to receive 5 lakh rupees. I have to recover 5 lakh rupees. Right. But if there is an inventory which is lying in the godown, can you say that you have to recover X amount of rupee from Y? Can you say that? What happened if tomorrow there will be fire and inventory will be destroyed? Right? Because, so the point is inventory is a non-monetary item, but when inventory is sold on credit, it will become a monetary item. PPE is a non-monetary item. Intangible asset is a non-monetary item. Investment property is a non-monetary item. Right of use asset is a non-monetary item. Okay. So these are the non-monetary item. But all the payables, recoverables, these are the monetary item. So in this case, tell me one thing. Right of use asset, it is a monetary item or non-monetary item?
Non-monetary item.
Non-monetary.
It's a non-monetary item. Okay. Lease liability, it's a monetary item or non-monetary item?
It's a monetary item.
It's monetary item, right? Because you have to pay. You know that I have to pay 10,000 US dollar, right? It's a monetary item. So friends, your foreign exchange standard says that, be it accounting standard, Ind AS, IFRS, whatever, it says that monetary items has to be restated on the closing rate. Monetary items are required to restated at the reporting date, but non-monetary item has to continue on the historical rate. Means once you have recorded your non-monetary item in your functional currency, once you have recorded your non-monetary item into a functional currency, means into a local currency, once you have recorded a non-monetary item into your local currency, functional currency, then you are not required to restate your non-monetary item. You are not required to restate. Okay. Means, for example, if you have purchased a PPE, property, plant and equipment. So you bought an iPhone from USA. Okay. So iPhone is a property, plant and equipment. You bought an iPhone, and iPhone costed you, let's say, 10,000 US dollar. iPhone. Okay. So the exchange rate was 80 rupees on that date. So when you came to India, you recorded an accounting entry, 10,000 multiplied by 80, iPhone PP account debit to bank account. Okay. You pass that accounting entry. That's all. You are not required to restate that $10,000 multiplied by XYZ, whatever, at every reporting date. No. But let's say you bought that iPhone on a credit basis. Okay. You bought that iPhone on a credit basis. So 10,000 US dollar iPhone you bought, you came to India and you have to pay the money to the foreign supplier. You bought this iPhone in the month of January. So you have passed an accounting entry, iPhone PP account debit to bank, $10,000 multiplied by 80. Exchange rate was 80 at that point of time. On 31st March, you haven't paid. Up to 31st March, you haven't paid to the foreign supplier. So that iPhone will be there in the books of accounts at $10,000 multiplied by 80 only. But that foreign supplier, you have to pay $10,000. And on the reporting date, the exchange rate becomes 81. The dollar becomes stronger and rupee becomes cheaper. So now you have to restate this liability, because when you settle on today, when you are going to settle, you have to pay $10,000 multiplied by 81. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So it's a monetary item. So you have to restate that monetary item. You have to restate that monetary item. So $10,000 multiplied by 81. So your liability will increase, and what will be debited? Your P&L will be debited. These are the concept of Ind AS 21. Okay, friends, you will read those concepts in detail, because Ind AS 21 is yet to cover. Okay, but to cut a long story short, what I'm trying to tell you, till the time you will read Ind AS 21, monetary items are required to be restated at the reporting date. Non-monetary items are not required to be restated on the reporting date. Okay, right? But when you read Ind AS 21, you read in detail. So in this case, your right of use asset is a non-monetary item. Once it is recorded on the commencement date, job is over. You're not required to do anything. You're not required to do anything, right? So depreciation account debit, this divide by 5. This is the accounting entry. This is the accounting entry every year, 588809. Okay. So let me write here all. Let me also write here H per Ind AS 21. Non-monetary items are recorded on the spot rate and continue with the historical rate every reporting date. Monetary items are recorded on the spot rate. Spot rate means the rate on the date of transaction, spot rate, and required to be restated on every reporting date. Okay, and required to be restated on every reporting date. So friends, ROU part we have done. What about lease liability? What about lease liability? Because lease liability is a monetary item. Tell me, what should we do with that lease liability? Help me here. Ayush, what's your view? What we should do with this lease liability?
Sir, it should be passed with the date, the last date, I guess the $69.
Sorry?
For the lease liability, the payment should be made with the conversion to the USD on the last date, because we are paying on the last date.
Okay. Yes.
Interest
So
can
first
be
of all,
taken with the average date. Average
so
rate,
first,
sorry.
yeah. So first of all, you are absolutely right. First of all, let's make a lease liability schedule. Okay. Let's make a lease liability schedule, because you have to pass an entry for an interest. You have to pass an entry for a payment, and you have to restate your closing lease liability also. Correct? The initial lease liability you have recorded at a spot rate 68. So let's prepare a lease liability schedule. Lease liability schedule. And how can I prepare this lease liability schedule? Now you guys become expert on this. Year. Then
opening balance.
opening balance. Then
Interest,
interest cost. Then
payment,
payment. Very good.
closing
Then
balance,
closing balance.
Then closing balance into opening balance of next year.
Yes. I love the way you guys have explained. मिले सुर मेरा तुम्हारा तो सुर बने हमारा.
Yes.
Yeah. So this lease liability schedule I am preparing in US dollar. Year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is the opening balance?
43,295.
43295 is my lease liability. What is the interest cost? At the rate what? At the rate 5%.
5%.
At the rate of 5%. What is my interest cost? 43295 multiplied by 5%. Should I first make a payment, then compute the interest, or should I first compute the interest, then make a payment?
The first interest.
Because the
Sir,
payment is
made in a year. It means end of the year.
At the
at the end of the year. What is my lease payment? What is my lease payment? My lease payment is, my annual lease payment is how much? $10,000.
10,000.
10,000. What is my closing balance? My closing balance is this plus this plus this. Then in the second year, this will become my opening balance, then interest cost, then your lease payment, then your closing balance. So let me drag this also for the 5-year. This will become your lease liability schedule. This is your lease liability schedule. Friends, now I have an interest cost of $2165. $2165. What is the accounting entry for interest cost? Interest
to lease liability.
expense account debit. Interest expense account debit to lease liability. To lease
Yes, sir.
liability. Or to bank also, you can also pass the entry of bank to lease liability. Read it. What is the accounting entry? 2165, but I have to record in INR. So 2165 multiply by what?
Sir, here
70.
no, sir. It's 69, sir. But the average rate we have to use. The interest accrued over the period of time.
Yes. So friends, he is right. When you read Ind AS 21, Ind AS 21 says that the expenses are accrued over a period of time. So this interest is accrued over a period of time. So expense has to be recorded at an average rate. And what is the average rate? Average rate is 69. 69. So this is your interest expense to lease liability. Friends, then you have to make a payment. Then you have to make a payment of lease liability. So what is the accounting entry for making a payment?
Lease liability to bank.
Lease liability to bank. Lease liability account debit to bank. This you are going to pay at the end of the year. At the end of the year. And what amount you are going to pay?
10,000 USD dollar.
10,000 USD. Multiply by what? What is the rate when you are paying on the
Closing rate. Closing rate 70 rupees.
Yes,
It
70.
is 70. Closing rate is 70. This is the entry you are going to make. Yes. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, you have a closing liability sitting at 35460 US dollar. So what should we do for this closing liability? This is a monetary item. We need to restate this monetary item. We need to restate this monetary item also.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
need
we
to
will,
restate. Yeah.
we will restate it the closing balance at the closing rate, and the difference we will put in the profit and loss account.
Very good. So what is my closing liability? My closing liability is 35460, right? So now I need to pass an accounting entry for restatement of closing liability. So whether liability will increase or liability will not increase in this case.
Liability will increase, sir, because we compared the
So my
ICAI.
closing liability is 35460 US dollar. USD. So this closing liability is part of my $43,295, right? $43,295. So the opening liability was 43,295. And I have recorded this opening liability at what rate? At 68. At 68. Okay. So then I have added this liability at 69, interest cost. Then I have make a payment. Okay. So out of 43,295, the remaining liability is 35,460 only. This is my obligation in US dollar. This is my obligation in US dollar. Technically speaking, whatever is the interest cost I have paid, yes or no? Yes?
Yes,
And
sir.
10,000 minus 2165, 7,835 I have paid as a principal. Correct?
Yes, sir.
If I compare my opening liability versus my closing liability, it means I have paid $7,835 as a principal payment. And that's how my closing balance is 35,460. It means this 35,460 was recorded at 68 in the beginning. And now what is the value of this 35,460? Now at the value of 70. It means my liability is increased by what amount? My liability is increased by 70,919 rupees. 70,919 rupees. Any doubt on this part? I have to restate my liability. Any doubt? Any doubt on this item?
No doubt.
No doubt? Very good. So let's pass an accounting entry. Your P&L exchange loss on remeasurement of lease liability account debit. This will go to P&L. Okay. Credit is your to lease liability. Credit. And what is the value? Value is 35,460 multiply by 70 minus 68. ये 70 minus 68 समझ आया ना कैसे किया? आया नहीं आया?
Yes, sir. We can multiply by 2. The difference is 2 rupees.
We
The
recorded
difference is
initially at
2 rupees
68.
between the opening and closing. The difference is 2 rupees, right? So this is the accounting entry. Friends, these were the question which I want to solve today, right? As promised in the last class. Okay. So far we have covered 2 questions. Right? Have you found this question interesting?
Very interesting.
Yeah. Have you got the concept? Ayush, do you have any question?
No, sir.
Nandini, do you have any question?
No, sir.
Very good. Great.
Sir, I have one question that in subsequent year, if there is a gain, say example on the next year, if that exchange rate is 60 rupees, then we will be gain. Whether we will adjust the existing loss or straight away we will take into the profit on the exchange.
So Saminathan, this is your P&L item, right? And P&L item never carry forward. So of course, like this loss has gone to P&L, that gain will also go to P&L, and gain will be shown like an other income. Okay. For example, if in the same year, let's say you are a listed company, okay, and you are preparing your results on a quarterly basis. So every quarter there is a reporting date. Every quarter you are restating, okay, your liability. In the first quarter there is a loss. In the second quarter there is a gain. So in that case you have to see net. You have to see net. Okay. But in the first year there is a gain or there is a loss. In the second year there is a gain. So when there is a loss, it will go to P&L as a other expense. When there is a gain in the next year, it will go as a other income in the P&L. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So friends, now let's come to the today's topic on lease we discussed the concept of sublease, accounting. Yeah. So let me take you to my PowerPoint presentation. This is one of the lengthiest standard, I must say. Yes.
So, sir, I need one clarity on the earlier question that the lease and non-lease component. We done that accounting for the lease perspective. Let's see. What will happen then the lessor accounting, sir? It will total 170 will be considered as a lease receipt.
You remember I have told you that the lessor will apply Ind AS 115 for the purpose of allocating this consideration. Lessor will receive 1,70,000. Lessor will apply Ind AS 115. So same concept. Lessor will recognize the lease payment of 1,02,000 and lessor will recognize non-lease payment of 68,000. Means, let's say for lessor, it is an operating lease, right? So for lessor, it is an operating lease. So 1,02,000 lessor will recognize lease rental every bank account debit to lease rental income 1,02,000, and that maintenance expenses, the facility expenses, the lessor will recognize as a income from the facility, income from the facility services, right? Credit and bank account debit. So rental, the lessor has to show as a separate line item, and the maintenance, the lessor has to show the separate line item. Probably the lessor must also be incurring the maintenance expense. For example, I am paying a rent to my landlord. Okay, I am living in a high-rise society. So I am paying, let's say, 55,000 rupees. 50,000 rupees I am paying as a rental, 5,000 rupees I am paying as a maintenance. Okay, to my landlord. So for my landlord, there are two income. One is rental, one is maintenance. But my landlord is also paying 5,000 rupees to the RWA of the society, right? So he is collecting 5,000 rupees from me as a maintenance and is paying 5,000 rupees to the RWA. So what accounting lessor will do? Lessor will recognize the rental income as an income in the P&L, and the money which lessor is collecting from me, and he is also paying to the RWA. So first he is incurring an expense, then he is collecting the money. So right. So in that case, what he will do? He can also net his expense. Maintenance expense से वो net कर सकते हैं, right? So but to cut a long story short, lessor also needs to do the allocated accounting. Okay. Right, Saminathan?
Okay. In case of finance lease, in the case of lessor, sir.
In case of
Lessor is a finance lease.
So in case of finance lease, again, lease non-lease component you need to separate, right? And non-lease component is just like a normal accounting. There is nothing to do with lease and there is nothing to do with the non-lease component in respect of finance lease also, right? So in case of finance lease, non-lease component को आप separate कर दो, okay? But whatever is the lease component, and I told you in case of finance lease, you have to de-recognize the asset. And you have to recognize the finance lease receivable. So for recognizing the finance lease receivable, you have to compute the present value of the lease payments. So your lease payment is 1,02,000 only. This is how you do the accounting of finance lease receivable. Okay?
Okay, sir. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So friends, this is a new concept in Ind AS 116, which was never there in accounting standard 19 as well, which was never there in accounting standard 19. And what is the concept? Let me tell you. For example, whether any one of you lived in Lakshmi Nagar hostels? Any one of you? So
Yes.
let me tell you what happened. For example, I have taken a building on a rent basis, on a lease basis. Okay. And I am paying 1 lakh rupee per month rent to my landlord. Okay. And what I did, I put 5-6 bed in the rooms and I started subleasing this to the students, CA students. And I'm charging 25,000 rupees per bed. Means I'm charging 1,50,000 rupees on a monthly basis. So I'm paying 1 lakh rupee to my lessor and I'm charging 1,50,000 rupees from my tenants. If you see this entire transaction, there are two contracts. There are two contracts. Which two contracts are there, Nandini? In this entire transaction, which two contracts are there?
So first is the original lease and the second is the sublease.
Yes, very good. First is the original lease contract and the second is sublease contract. In the first contract, I am the lessee and the lessor is one who has given me this building on a lease basis. Okay. In the original lease, I am the lessee and the lessor is the party who has given me this building on a lease basis. In the second lease contract, which is a sublease contract, at the same time, while I am the lessee, but I will also become a lessor. So I will call it as an intermediate lessor. Intermediate lessor. So for the first transaction, I am the original lessee. But for the second transaction, for the second contract, I will become an intermediate lessor. Right? And the students from whom I am collecting 25,000 rupees per month, they will become my sub-lessee. They will become my sub-lessee. So friends, this is known as a sublease concept. This is known as a sublease concept, right? So let's discuss this sublease concept in detail. That what is this sublease concept? Okay. इस सबलीज कॉन्सेप्ट में अकाउंटिंग कैसे होती है, ये सबलीज कॉन्सेप्ट क्या होता है? लेट्स डिस्कस दिस इन डिटेल. ओके, sublease concept. So I'll explain this sublease concept with the help of a question, right? With the help of a question. So friends, just confirm me if my Excel file is visible to all of you. Please confirm if my Excel file is visible. Is it visible?
No, sir.
Not yet. Just a minute. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Sublease accounting. Okay. Example. A Limited lease car to B Limited for 7 years. B Limited subleases this car to C Limited for 7 years. Life of car is 9 years. Lease rental charged by A Limited is 10,000 rupees per year, payable at the end of the year. Lease rental charged by B Limited is 12,000 per year, payable at the end of the year. Discount rate considered by all the parties is 10%. First of all, in this case, there are two contracts. There are the original lease contract and there is a sublease contract, A Limited. There are three parties, A Limited, B Limited and C Limited. A Limited, B Limited and C Limited. Okay. There are three parties, A, B and C. Friends, A Limited is the primary lessor. Yes or no? A is the primary lessor. He is also known as the original lessor. Original lessor. Who is B Limited? Who is B Limited?
Sublessee. Lessee.
B Limited is
Intermediate.
the primary lessee.
Original
Primary
lessee.
lessee or original lessee. Primary. So let me write. So let me put here primary oblique original. Okay, primary oblique original lessor, and B Limited is primary oblique original lessee, as well as and what? Intermediate lessor. Intermediate lessor. Yes or no? Intermediate lessor.
Yes, sir.
Who is C Limited?
Sublessee.
Sublessee.
Sublessee. It is also called as a sublessee, or it is also called as a ultimate lessee. Ultimate. Who is using this asset? Ultimately, this lessee is using this asset. Ultimate lessee. Right. A Limited is a primary oblique original lessor. B Limited is primary oblique original lessee and intermediate lessor. and C Limited is a sub-lessee or ultimate lessee. Okay, ultimate lessee. So friends, let's understand what will be the accounting. A Limited leases car to B Limited for 7 years. B Limited subleases this car to C Limited for 7 years. Okay. So there is an original contract. There are two contracts here. Contract between A Limited and
B limited.
contract between A Limited and B Limited, and the second contract is contract between B and
C.
C Limited, right? So in case of a sublease accounting, you have to do the accounting for two contracts. So in this case, let's stick to the first contract first. A Limited leases car to B Limited for 7 years. B Limited subleases this car to C Limited for 7 years. Life of the car is 9 years. So A Limited leases car to B Limited for 7 years. Okay. This is the first contour. This is the first terms and condition of the first contract. A Limited leases car to B Limited. What is the life of the car? 9 years. What is the lease rental charged by A Limited? This much. Right? If I split this contract, this is something which is there, right?
Yes.
A Limited, B Limited के contract से related यही बात है और भी कोई बात है? Mamta? This is the only information pertaining to the contract between A Limited and B Limited?
Yes, sir.
Yeah? Okay. So Mamta, first of all, in this contract, A Limited is the lessor and B Limited is the lessee. Correct? So A Limited being a lessor, what accounting A Limited will do for this asset? In the books of lessor, is it a finance lease or is it an operating lease? In the books of the lessor.
Lesser is a finance lease, sir. It's a 9 years out of life of 9 years, 7 years is less. As per
Operating building is there.
Yeah, Saminathan has told that it's a finance lease. Why? Because he said that the total life of the car is 9 years. Out of the 9 years, the lease term is 7 years. And if I compute 7 divided by 9, what is the percentage which is coming?
78.
78%. Right? And I told you roughly this. You remember I have given you one indicator of the finance lease. I told you if the lease term covers the major part of the economic life of the asset, it is also an indicator of finance lease. मैंने बताया था नहीं बताया था?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And
So
in
in this
US
case,
GAAP,
this
it is
lease term covers 78% of the life of this asset. So normally in the US GAAP, the threshold is given at 75% or more. Okay. So in this case, it is 80% almost. So don't you think from the perspective of A Limited as a lessor, it will become a finance lease? Yes, it will become a finance lease. So from the lessor perspective, it will become a finance lease. And from the lessee perspective?
Sir, lessee per
single model.
single lease model.
Lessee perspective,
Single
single lease model. From the lessee perspective, there is no concept of in lease or op lease. Okay. From the lessee perspective, there is a lease. You have to compute right of use asset and lease liability. You have to depreciate. You have to charge interest. You have to pay lease payment. That's all. Right? If it is a short-term lease or if it is a low-value lease, simple. You have to do the normal accounting, expense account debit to lessor or to bank, whatever. Okay. But you remember, I've told you in case of low value leases, if it is a sublease contract, this low value lease exemption is also not available. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So my dear friends, from the lessor perspective, A Limited books, A Limited as a lessor, this will be a finance lease accounting. From B Limited, lessee, It is a ROU and lease accounting, simple ROU and lease liability accounting. यही करेंगे ना?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
It is a ROU and lease liability accounting. Okay. ROU and lease liability accounting. Friends, first of all, let's do the lessee accounting, then we'll do the lessor accounting. Lessee accounting means in the books of B Limited. What I'll do in the books of B Limited?
Present.
क्या करना है मुझे books of B Limited में? Simple year.
Find the lease liability.
Year lease payment. Lease payment means amount. Year amount PVF at the rate of what percent? 10% is the discount rate considered by all the parties. PVF at the rate of 10%, then your present value. What is the amount? 10,000 rupees, right?
Yes.
10,000 rupees is payable. Sorry, this is the amount. 1, 2. 7 years, na? 10,000
Yes, sir.
is the amount. PVF is 1 divided by 1.1. Divided by 1.1. Wait. This is my present value of lease liability. So what accounting entry I'll pass in the books of B Limited? In the books
ROU
of B
asset.
Limited, ROU and
Lease
lease
liability.
liability accounting will happen. So my accounting entry in the books of B Limited is right of use asset account debit to lease liability. Okay. What is my accounting? Right of use asset account debit to lease liability. Okay. So this is the accounting in the books of the B Limited. In the books of A Limited, what will be the accounting in the books of A Limited? There is a lessor accounting. There is a finance lease accounting. Okay. There is a finance lease accounting in the books of A Limited. So the value of the car is not given. The value of this asset is not given. Otherwise, I will do the derecognition of the asset and then I'll do the recognition of the finance lease receivable. Now comes to the contract between B Limited and C Limited. Contract between B Limited and C Limited. Friends, for B Limited and C Limited, what is the important terms and conditions? B Limited subleases this car to C Limited for 7 years. And lease rental charged by B Limited is 12,000 per annum. Okay, 12,000 per year. Now I want to ask you one thing. In this contract, you have compared the life of car with the lease term from the perspective of the lessor. And then you concluded the finance lease accounting. Yes, finance lease accounting considering the major part of considering lease term as major part of life of the asset. Right. My question to all of you is, in contract number 1, you compare from the lessor perspective, you compare the lease term with the life of the car. Here, B Limited becomes lessor now. Here, B Limited becomes intermediate lessor. Intermediate lessor. तो lessor तो है. B Limited की बुक्स में इस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के हिसाब से lessor अकाउंटिंग होगी. C Limited is my ultimate lessee. So what I'm trying to ask you, what I'm asking you, in this contract between B and C, tell me one thing, whether B Limited in the capacity of a lessor, whether B Limited will consider the sublease term with life of the asset or with the original ROU term.
Original ROI term, sir.
Yes, I also think it will be.
Sanjay,
original
can you please speak little louder? I'm not able to hear you.
Yeah, I think it would be the original ROU asset value.
It will be the term original ROU term for
Yes.
which the original contract has given the right of use to the lessee, means an intermediate lessor, right?
Right.
To be. Okay. So Nandini, do you have a different view?
No, sir.
You agree with them? Ayush, what about you? Or Mamta, do you have the same view?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely right. See, in the first contract, A Limited was the owner. So he know that the life of my asset is 9 years. It is usable for 9 years. But out of 9 years, I am giving it on a lease basis for 7 years. So from my perspective, I am comparing what is the life of the asset versus what is the lease term on which I am giving this asset to the lessee. But from the perspective of the second contract, B Limited has a usable life only for 7 years. And B Limited has subleases for also 7 years, right? So in case of a sublease contract, you have to compare, the sublease term with the original lease term, right? With the ROU term. Right? So in this case, in the capacity of intermediate lessor, in the books of B Limited, we have to do the lessor accounting. Of course, because B Limited become a lessor. And lease classification will depend on the lease period of sublease comparing with the lease period of the main lease, right? In the books of B Limited. In the books of B Limited. In this contract, in the books of B Limited, so we will do the lessor accounting. We'll do the lessor accounting, okay? And lessor accounting, in case of lessor accounting, lease classification will depend on the lease classification will depend on what? Will depend on the lease period of sublease in comparison of the lease period of main lease. In comparison of the lease period of the main lease. In comparison of lease period of main lease, right? So in this case, what is your sublease period? 7 years. What is your main lease period?
7 years.
So 100%. यहाँ तो 100% हो गया. So what is the classification in case of lessor as a B? Lease classification क्या होगी?
Finance lease.
Finance lease, sir.
Lease classification will be finance lease.
Sir,
And in case of finance lease, what you need to do? You need to de-recognize your existing asset. So what is the asset in the books of B Limited? B Limited की books में asset क्या है?
48684.
48684 ROU asset. ROU asset, right? And so you need to de-recognize the existing asset and you need to recognize what? You need to recognize
lease receivable.
You need to recognize finance lease receivable on the basis of present value of the future lease payments. Correct? Okay. So my dear friends, first of all, let me compute my present value of future lease payment. Calculate present value of future lease payments. Calculate present value of future lease payment. Year, amount, PVF and PV. How many years? 7 years. Amount कौन सा होगा? 10,000 or 12,000? What is your amount in the sublease contract? In your sublease contract, the amount is 12,000. This intermediate lessor is recovering 12,000 from the ultimate lessee. What is present value factor? 10%. It is same 10% for all the parties. What is your present value? What is your present value? This multiply by this. Simple. What is your present value of future lease payment? 58421. What is the accounting entry you need to pass? Your net investment in the lease. What is your net investment in the lease? 58421. What is the accounting entry? Finance lease receivable account debit. Finance lease receivable account debit to right of use asset. To right of use asset. Rated. Right. 58. I will recognize finance lease receivable. I will de-recognize my which asset? कौन सा asset de-recognize करूंगा?
Right of use asset.
ROU asset, because in the books of the B Limited, in the first contract B Limited is the lessee. In the books of B, car is not there, ROU is there. So you need to de-recognize ROU, right? And in the second contract, since B become a lessor, you need to recognize finance lease receivable. Where the difference will go? Where the difference will go?
It's a
Profit and loss.
profit on sublease.
To profit on de-recognition of ROU. To profit on de-recognition, okay, credit. Or you can also say profit on sublease, Saminath, and even that is also right. Okay. Yes. Whether this entry is clear to all of you, whether this accounting is clear to all of you, ये clear है या नहीं है? Is it clear or clear?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Now in this contract, B become an intermediate lessor, and what I have done, so just allow me a minute. Yes. So what I have done in this case, in the first contract, I have done the lessee accounting from the perspective of B, recognize the ROU asset. And in the second contract, what I have done the finance lease, I have done the accounting as a lessor for B. And since it was a finance lease, I have de-recognized the ROU asset and I have recognized the finance lease receivable. Okay. I have recognized the finance lease receivable. Now, what is the accounting in the books of the C? What is the accounting in the books of the C? And let me show you the balance sheet position in the books of B Limited. Okay. Let me show you the balance sheet position. Balance sheet position. Shall I show you balance sheet position? In the books of B Limited. In the books of B Limited. Who is B Limited? Head lessee, primary lessee, original lessee, head lessee, and intermediate lessor. Intermediate lessor. Okay. Assets on the asset side. Assets. Right of use asset. Whether right of use asset will be there in the books of B? Answer
No,
is
sir.
no.
They
Answer is
recognized already.
0. Then after right of use asset, what? What next? Financial asset. One financial asset is there. So these are the balance sheet presentation. Okay, these are the balance sheet presentation. In financial asset, there is a finance lease receivable. Finance lease receivable. And what is the amount of finance lease receivable? 58421. Okay. Then what is the liability in the books of B Limited? Liability. So in the equity and liability, so let me write equity and liability. Retained earnings. What is my retained earnings? You have a profit on derecognition, this transaction. Then your lease liability, you have a liability also. कौन सी liability है ये? ये कौन सी liability है? You are an intermediate lessor. You have a obligation towards A Limited. है या नहीं है?
Yes, sir. We have to pay, sir. Pay to the lessor, main lessor, head lessor.
Yes. See the position of B Limited. B Limited has two contracts. B Limited has the first contract with the lessor in which B is obligated to pay to the lessor. In the second contract, B has a right to receive the rent from the lessee, from the ultimate lessee, right? So friends, this finance lease receivable, this reflect the right to receive the rent from whom? From ultimate lessee. This lease liability shows what shows? This lease liability shows the obligation. This lease liability reflects obligation. This reflect obligation towards rental payment to the head lessor, main lessor, primary lessor, original lessor. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Which means we derecognize to only right of use asset, but
Of
the
course.
lease liability is still there is a liability we have to pay for.
Of course, yes. You only need to derecognize your asset. I never told you you have to derecognize liability. I never told you. Right? Is this clear or not clear? My dear friends, please tell me, is this clear or not clear?
So it is clear.
And what is the P&L position? What is the P&L position in the books of B Limited? What is the P&L position? This is a balance sheet position. How P&L will look like? How P&L will look like? हम फाइनेंस लीज में हमने क्या किया था? Interest income, like finance liability, like lease liability, you are charging an interest cost. In case of finance lease receivable, there is an interest income. आपको याद आया नहीं आया ये?
Yes.
मैंने आपको लेसोर अकाउंटिंग अभी लास्ट क्लास में पढ़ाई है.
Yes, finance lease receivable schedule.
Interest income on finance lease receivable, right? Interest income on finance lease receivable. And there is a cost also.
Interest expense.
Interest cost to head lessor.
Yes, there will be a interest expense on lease liability. Interest expense on lease liability. Interest expense on lease liability, right? Interest expense on lease liability. Tell me one thing, whether depreciation will come here.
No, sir.
Why?
So because we have already derecognized the right of use asset.
Absolutely right. Because we have already derecognized the right of use asset. That is why depreciation is not there. So there is an interest income on the money which you are going to receive, and there is an interest expense on the money which you are going to pay. As simple as that, right? And if you see this entire transaction, what this intermediate lessor is acting, this intermediate lessor is acting like a broker. He has taken an asset on a lease and he has subleased that asset. In between, he just earning a margin of 2,000 rupees per month as a rental, 2,000 rupees per year as a rental, right? So he is earning some interest and he is paying some interest. That's all. Is this accounting clear to all of you or not clear, friends? Please tell me. What is the accounting in the books of the C Limited ultimate lessee? What is the accounting in the books of C Limited? Accounting.
He will use book that right of use asset, the lease liability as usual.
C Limited is one who is ultimate lessee, who is ultimately using the asset, ultimate lessee. So what is the accounting in the books of C Limited? Same accounting. 12,000 rent he has to pay. Same amount will come. Yes or no? He has to pay 12,000. Same 58421. What is the accounting entry? Right of use asset account debit. Right of use asset account debit to lease liability. Write it. So he is the one who will recognize right of use asset. He is the one who will recognize right of use asset. Okay. Perfect. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely clear? Yeah. So friends, in case of a sublease accounting, the intermediate lessor, the main lessee will become an intermediate lessor. And you have to split the contract. In the first contract, you have to do the lessor accounting for the head lessor and the lessee accounting to the head lessee or the main lessee or the original lessee. Then in the second contract, sublease contract, when this lessee will become the lessor, you have to see from the eyes of the lessor. You need to compare the amount, that whatever you are paying, are you collecting that? You remember those 5 conditions? There is an option of transferring the ownership. There is the lease payments are substantially equivalent to the fair value of the asset. The lease term should cover major part of economic life. Exercise price is nominal. Specialized equipment. You remember those 5 conditions
Yes, sir.
of lease? So you need to see from the intermediate lessor perspective, is it a finance lease or is it an operating lease? If it is a finance lease, intermediate lessor has to de-recognize the right of use asset which he has created, and he has to recognize the finance lease receivable. Okay. Friends, if it is an operating lease, then what will happen? Then lessor will not de-recognize right of use asset. Intermediate lessor will not de-recognize. Lessor will recognize the operating lease rental income every year. Okay. So lessee, original lessee, who is B Limited, in case of operating lease, B Limited will also recognize right of use asset. C Limited will also recognize right of use asset. Okay. B Limited will recognize right of use asset for his own obligation. C Limited will recognize right of use asset for his own obligation. Right? Clear or not
Yes,
clear?
sir. Yes, sir. In this case of B Limited is subleased to that C Limited instead of 7 years, 4 years, which means is less than 75% will come in those cases. The operating lease for in the intermediate lessor.
Yes. Intermediate lessor, it is operating lease means lessor will not de-recognize this right of use asset. Lessor will not de-recognize any asset. I told you, the operating lease accounting in case of a lessor, you have to recognize rental income on the systematic basis. Right?
Yes,
Systematic
sir.
basis means if the escalation is there, you have to take the average rentals. Yes. Okay. So friends, we have completed this sublease concept also. Now let's have a break. It's 8:34 now. Let's have a break for 15 minutes. So we will start at 8:49. Okay. Sounds good?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's have a break for 15 minutes. let me complete a concept on sale and leaseback, the last concept of Ind AS 116. So friends, just allow me a second. Let me share my screen. Yes. So after sublease, the next concept is sale and leaseback. Is there any question, any doubt on sublease accounting?
No, sir, no doubt on sublease account.
No doubt. Okay. Sale and leaseback.
Sir,
Sorry.
in
Nothing, but yes, but
Sublease, I
basically,
have one question, sir. One query. Sir, in the intermediate lease, sir, when he is subleasing, it's become the operating lease. That time he is eligible to recognize depreciation as well, because
Of course,
yeah,
yes. Otherwise, so Saminathan, if he is not de-recognizing the asset, of course, if he is continuing with the asset, he has to charge depreciation also, na? Otherwise, how this asset will become zero?
right, sir.
Yeah.
The another question is that the thing is question is not yet completed. The thing is that lessee, ultimate lessee, he is also recognize the right of use asset. He is
Yeah.
also going to depreciate the asset. Then the depreciation in this case, on the both how can use the depreciation? That's what my question is.
See, so the intermediate lessor, when the intermediate lessor is, when the main lessee is acting in the capacity of intermediate lessor, he has transferred the right, but he has given the right only for a limited period of time. Okay. That is why it is not creating a finance lease and it is an operating lease. So the intermediate lessor who is a main lessee, who is the original lessee, so he has created a right of use asset for his own set of obligation, the rental which he is paying towards the head lessor. Okay. So whatever the asset is created in his books, he is depreciating that. And since he has the asset for 7 years, but he is leasing only for 4 years, for example, right? So the ultimate lessee, C Limited, he is recognizing the right of use asset only for 4 years. He is not recognizing for 7 years, only for 4 years. So for C Limited, he will recognize right of use asset for 4 years, equivalent to the present value of 4-year lease payment. And whatever amount is there, he will depreciate that amount in his books of account. Right. So it's a altogether different set. It's altogether different set. For example, I am a trader. Let's say I have purchased goods. Let's take an example. I have purchased a mobile phone. Okay. I purchased this mobile phone. I'm a trader. I purchased this mobile phone at 50,000 rupees and sold it 60,000 rupees to a small trader. Right. So tell me, what is the accounting in my books? Sale and purchase.
Yes, sir.
Sale 60,000 rupees, purchase cost 50,000 rupees. And to whom I have paid, he is also a trader. What accounting he will do in his books of accounts? Purchase cost 60,000 rupees, and let's say he has sold to the ultimate customer at 70,000 rupees. So what is the sale? 70,000 rupees purchase, 60,000 rupees in his books. So there
Yes,
is
sir.
one item. Ultimately, I have purchased this mobile and I have sold this mobile. He has purchased this mobile from me and he has sold this mobile to the ultimate customer. But both of us are recognizing sale and purchase in our books of accounts. So, Saminathan, here it's not about a single item. Here it's about reflecting the transaction, reflecting the contract in a particular books of accounts, right? When I have purchased and I have sold to my customer who is also a trader, I am reflecting the substance of the transaction, which is sale and purchase. That is one contract. I am doing this accounting for this contract, right? When I am selling these goods to the another customer and the another trader who is purchasing these goods, he is entering into a second contract, and for him it is a purchase and it is a sale. He is generating a profit of 10,000 rupees. So the Saminathan, the point is, it's not about that how come he is also recognizing ROU, I am also recognizing an ROU. I mean to say B and C both are recognizing ROU. So number one. both are recognizing ROU for their own set of obligation. B will recognize ROU for 10,000 rupees per annum lease rental for 7 years. C will recognize ROU for 12,000 annual rental for 4 years. I am assuming here that 4 year is the sublease period because it's an operating lease. Okay. So they are creating ROU. The first one is creating ROU. B is creating ROU as per the contract number 1. C is creating ROU as per the contract number 2. Okay. So that's how this accounting needs to happen. Right, Saminathan?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So, sir, basically, we are amortizing what we have just created ourselves. We are just amortizing that thing. The original depreciation, the depreciation on the basis of wear and tear is only, I can say, only be eligible for the original person who is holding the
Naturally.
asset in natural, the original head leaser, we can say, in operating lease case.
Yeah.
So he
You're
has the right
absolutely right.
to
You're absolutely right. Yes. For example, let's say A Limited is the owner of the car. Taking this example, okay. Life is let's say 10 years of the car. And cost is 10 lakh. Right? A Limited leases out to B Limited. B Limited for A Limited leases out to B Limited for let's say 6 years. Okay, for 6 years, and B Limited leases out to C for let's say 3 years. Okay. Subleases. So in this case, contract 1, A and B. A Limited, owner of the asset, right? Owner. B Limited. So A Limited is the owner and lessor. B Limited is main lessee, right? In this case, what A Limited will do is this transaction is also 10 year is the life, 6 year is the sublease period. So what is the classification in the books of A Limited? Fin lease or op lease?
Operating lease, sir.
Operating lease. So this transaction is operating lease. So A will recognize depreciation, right? Over 10 years. Now contract number 2. And what B will do? B will recognize ROU and lease liability. So B will recognize ROU and depreciate this ROU for how much year? 6 years.
6 years.
And B Limited will so A has recognized the asset at 10 lakh rupee, but B will recognize the asset at the present value of the rental paid, right? So now contract number 2 between B and C. No one is owner. B or C कोई भी owner नहीं है ना? B Limited is the main lessee and intermediate lessor. Main lessee and intermediate lessor. C Limited is ultimate lessee. This transaction is operating lease again. So B will recognize ROU and depreciate this ROU, right? Continue to depreciate. And what B will do? B will recognize rental income. Okay. B will recognize rental income. So B will charge depreciation on ROU for 6 year and recognize rental income. Right? C Limited, who is the ultimate lessee, what C will do? C will also do ROU and LL accounting. C will recognize ROU and depreciate over how much period? C कितने पीरियड में करेगा डेप्रिसिएशन, और C कितने साल का करेगा ROU recognize?
For 3 years.
For 3 years. For 3 years. Yes. So Ayush, this is the situation.
So, sir, basically we can say that the ROU accounting is just in normal case, the person, like let's say A Limited, has asset in his book. In the loan case also, the person has asset in his book. But in the lease case, the person do not generally have asset in his book. So the accounting standard setter just want them something in their books to show the true and fair view that this person is holding the thing. So that's why
Ayush, exactly what you are saying. So were you there in my first lecture when I started Ind AS 116?
Yes, sir, you started this way, and now I'm just
Yeah. So this is exactly, that was the point, right? So my first point was
clear
that
that
only.
ROU accounting is just the amortization.
Yeah. So it reflects the right. It reflects that you have some right. Even if you are subleasing, that is also you have the right, and that's how you are subleasing. Okay. So it's just to compare with a person who is taking a loan and then
So
taking
calling
an
it
asset, he is
depreciation.
also paying an EMI. Okay. Yeah. So friends, now let's come to the sale and lease back. Sale and lease back concept. What is meant by sale and lease back? Can anyone throw some light on the sale and lease back? Whatever limited understanding you have, if you just want to throw some light on sale and lease back.
Asset is, say example, A is selling this asset to B. Immediately from the B, he is taking on the lease of the particular asset.
Okay.
Sir, in the start, initially, the lessor is giving the asset on lease, and subsequently he is buying back the same asset.
Okay.
So the lessor becomes the buyer lessor, and the seller becomes the lessee and the seller.
Yes. So sale and leaseback transaction. Sale and leaseback transaction, and why these are important. Let me tell you. For example, I am an owner of a building. Okay. And I'm using that building also. And I'm in urgent need of money. So what I'll do?
I will tell that.
I'll go to Ayush. So I'll say that Ayush, I'm in urgent need of money. I need 50 lakh rupees. So Ayush will tell me that, sir, how can I give you 50 lakh rupees? I know you just because you have provided us some lectures. So I told that, Ayush, I can do one thing. I have a building and I can sell this building to you. Okay. He told me, okay, sir. So, but why I should buy your building? Right? I don't need this building. So I told him not to worry, Ayush. You can buy this building from me, and what I'll do, so I'll sell this building to you. I am seller and you are buyer. And at the same time, we will enter into a lease contract, right? You will lease out this building to me. You will lease out this building to me. And what will happen then? In that case, I will pay you the lease rental on a monthly basis, or a quarterly basis, or a yearly basis, right? Right? So I am the seller, and at the same time, when I enter into this transaction, I will become a seller lessee, and Ayush will become a buyer lessor. So these kind of transaction is known as a sale and leaseback transaction. So you sold and you lease back these assets. In these kind of transaction, 2-3 things are very important. Number one, whether in these kind of transaction, is there any element of loan? Is there any element of funding, financing? If there is any element of financing, that element needs to be taken care of. Right? Number one. For example, if I have sold this building to Ayush, and with a condition that I will purchase this building after 5 years. I will purchase this building after 5 years, repurchase this building. What does this mean? It means it is just like a funding transaction and I am giving this building to him just like a mortgage. Okay. So friends, in this case, what happens? At times you need to look at, is it a funding transaction? You need to look at, is it a sale transaction or is it a lease transaction also, right? So you need to split those aspects in a particular question. So that is why it is important to understand that how the accounting will happen for sale and leaseback transaction, and how this sale and leaseback transaction is going to be treated in the books of the lessor and the lessee. Okay. So friends, let's start discussing this sale and leaseback transaction. Let's start building the understanding on the sale and leaseback transaction. Sale and leaseback transaction. Sale and leaseback transaction. In case of sale and leaseback transaction, there is a seller. Who is seller? A Limited. Seller is A Limited, right? This seller is selling the building to B Limited. Selling the building to B Limited, okay? And this B Limited will become a buyer. This B Limited will become a buyer, right? Buyer. Okay. And what this B Limited will do? He will become a buyer. What he will do? What he will do? This B Limited, who is a buyer, he become a lessor. This B Limited will become a lessor. B Limited. And he will lease out. And what he will do? He will lease out this building. This B Limited will lease out the building to whom? A Limited. So this A Limited will become a lessee. So this is the sale and leaseback transaction. In this transaction, A Limited will become a seller, lessee. This B Limited will become a buyer, lessor. Now, what is the accounting? What is the accounting? So we'll discuss with a small example, then we'll discuss a detailed question from the ICAI study material. Okay. Let's say number 1, the seller has not transferred the control to the buyer, right? The seller has not transferred the control to the buyer. Okay. Like I told you, now that all the controls are with the seller only. The seller has sold the building and with a right to repurchase. And the seller told you can't sell this building to anyone. I will purchase this building with a predetermined price. Let's say XYZ. Okay. So standard says that number 1, if the seller has not transferred the control to the buyer, the seller has not transferred the control to the buyer, then this transaction is not a sale and leaseback transaction, and this is a loan transaction under Ind AS 109. Right. So this transaction is not a sale and leaseback transaction, and this will be a funding transaction, financing transaction. This will be a loan transaction under Ind AS 109. But what happens if the seller has transferred the control to the buyer? Then तो क्या होगा? क्या होगा?
It will be a sale and leaseback transaction.
Seller has transferred the control to the buyer, it will be sale and lease back. उल्टा हो जाएगा और क्या होगा? Right? It will be just reverse. This transaction will be sale and lease back transaction. This transaction will be a sale and lease back transaction. This transaction is a sale and lease back transaction. Right? So now discuss what is the accounting implication. Accounting in the books of the seller lessee. Accounting in the books of the seller lessee. Okay. So let me give you an example, and just allow me a minute. Let me figure out that example from one of my file. Yes. Yeah. Accounting in the books of the seller lessee. Example. A Limited has sold the building and got the asset back on a lease for 10 years. A Limited is the seller lessee, sold the building and got the asset back on a lease for 10 years. The following information is given. The following information is given. Carrying value of the asset 20 lakhs. Carrying value in the balance sheet, in the books of account, is 20 lakhs. Fair value of the asset is 30 lakhs. Sale price is 30 lakhs. So in the books, this asset was carried at 20 lakhs. And the market value is 30 and sale price is also 30. It means the sale is happening at a market value. Yes or no? The sale is happening at a market value, right? The sale is happening at a market value. Then the present value of lease payment. So he has also got on a lease for 10 years. The present value of the lease payment for 10 years is 15 lakh rupees. The present value of the lease payment for 10 years is 15 lakh rupee. And the present value of the lease payment is also given, right? So we have to look at the substance of the transaction and we have to do an accounting which reflects true and fair view. Yes or no? Right? This is the intent. This is the intent of the conceptual framework for financial reporting also. You remember that the concept of faithful representation and reliability. It has to be relevant and it has to be reliable. It has to be represent faithful. There has to be a faithful representation. So friends, in this question, if I'll see, the carrying value is 20 lakh. The sale price is 30 lakh. So what this seller lessee is getting, he is getting 30 lakh. But what he is paying 15 lakh on the day one. On the day one, not paying 15 lakh, rather on the day one, on the commencement date, it is present value of lease payment. Is your 15 lakh. Now, what is the accounting entry? What is the competition? What is the numbers in case of seller lessee in this example? First of all, let's try to solve this example with whatever information we have. Bank account debit. Tell me for what value your bank account will be debited in this case?
30 lakhs.
30 lakhs, as simple as that, 30 lakh. This bank account debit is nothing, it's amount received. Amount received. Number two. From what value you will credit your lease liability? Present value of lease payment is 15 lakh. With what value you will credit your lease liability? On the day one, you have to pay 15 lakh rupee. 15 lakh rupee is the present value of the lease obligation.
15 lakh.
15 lakh. भाई आज की डेट में अगर 30 लाख आपने रिसीव कर लिया तो आपकी लाइबिलिटी कितनी है? 15 लाख है ना? प्रेजेंट वैल्यू ऑफ फ्यूचर लीज पेमेंट कमेंसमेंट डेट पे.
Yes, sir. 15 lakhs sir, lease liability.
So on the day one, two things are there. On the day one, number one, you received a bank, you received a money of rupees 30 lakh. Second,
And
Second.
de-reckoning asset.
you have a lease obligation of 15 lakh also, right? So two,
Yes, sir.
lease liability. 20 lakh, sorry, 15 lakh. You have to de-recognize asset also. You have to de-recognize the asset also.
On the
करेंगे
carrying
नहीं
yield.
करेंगे? To what? To asset account which is PP credit. What is the value of this asset?
20 lakhs.
20 lakhs.
20 lakhs. Carrying value you have de-recognized. So you have de-recognized the asset PP, de-recognized. Any problem up to this point? Any problem? Any confusion? Any question up to this part? है नहीं है कंफ्यूजन? है कोई कंफ्यूजन?
तो डिफरेंस कहाँ जाएगा?
कौन कहाँ जाएगा? सॉरी,
डिफरेंस
अभी मैं आता हूँ. I'll come on that. I'll come on that. But up to this level, do you have any question up to this level? Whatever I have written,
It's clear, sir.
Sir.
clear? Or let's say, let's remove this lease liability. Bank account debit to asset PP 30/20, but there is a second contract also, which is a lease contract, simultaneously happening with a sale contract, right? So I'm selling this building. And I'm getting a right to use this building for 10 years also. It means, don't you think, I am partially transferring the right and partially retaining the right? I have this mobile phone. The life of the mobile phone in 3 years. The life of the mobile phone is 3 years. And I am selling you this mobile phone with a lease contract of 2 years. Means I am selling you this mobile phone for 3 years. But who will use this mobile phone 2 years? I will use this mobile phone for 2 years. So the buyer will only get a right to use this mobile phone only for 1 year. The buyer will get a right to use the mobile phone only for 1 year. So if I see that the asset which I have sold, I am retaining a right to use this asset for 2 years, and I am selling the right to use this asset for 1 year. Yes or no? सिंपल मैं सोचूं तो मैंने जो एसेट बेचा, उसको बेचने के बाद उसकी अगर लाइफ लेट से 15 साल थी, 15 ईयर की लाइफ थी, तो 10 साल के लिए तो मैंने वापस ले लिया नहीं लिया? 10 साल के लिए तो मैंने वापस ले लिया ना, यूज करने के लिए. मतलब उस एसेट को बेचने के बाद जो मेरा, अगर उस एसेट को मैं नहीं बेचता तो 15 साल यूज करता, जब मैंने बेचा तो कितने साल यूज करूंगा? 10 ईयर. बिकॉज मैंने एक और कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में एंटर कर लिया, लीज बैक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. So friends, in these kind of contracts, sale and leaseback contract, you need to look at what is the profit on the transfer of right and what is the profit on the retention of the right. Profit means what is the right of use asset on the retention of the right and what is the profit on the sale of the right. So in this case, your lease liability recognized will be 15 lakh. But what will be your right of use asset? Right of use asset. Your right of use asset account will be debited by what value? It is your lease liability into carrying value divided by fair value. Your lease liability into carrying value divided by fair value. Proportionate right of use asset you need to recognize. Your lease liability is 15 lakh, which is present value of the lease payment. The total lease payment you have to make, the present value is 15 lakh. You are de-recognizing an asset of 20 lakhs, carrying value 20 lakhs, but the market value is 30 lakh, right? So you have recognized the proportionate right of use asset for the period for which you are retaining the asset, which is 10 lakh. And where the balancing figure will go? To
Profit and loss.
gain on sale and leaseback transaction, to gain on sale and leaseback, right? Great. And this is the balancing figure, this plus this minus this, gain on leaseback balance. balancing figure. Technically speaking, this is a profit on the sale of right for 5 years. Assuming the building life is, let's say, 15 years. So this 5 lakh is the amount, this is the profit on the sale of right beyond 10 years. Okay. So this is the accounting entry. This is the accounting which has to happen in the books of the seller lessee. In the books of the seller lessee. Okay. Now let's complicate this further. Let's complicate this further. A Limited sold the building and got the asset back on a lease for 10 years. Following information is given. Carrying value of the asset is 20 lakh. Fair value is 30 lakh. Sale price is 35 lakh. The present value of the lease payment for 10 years is 18 lakhs. Right? Instead of 15, it become 18. Sale price is greater than fair value. Pass the necessary entry along with competition in the books of seller lessee. Tell me one thing here. Tell me one thing. So market value is 30 lakh. Market value is 30 lakh. But the seller is selling at 35 lakh and buyer is buying at 35 lakh. Why?
It's a loan.
It's a additional financing. It's a loan.
Loan.
So why I should pay if the market value of some item is 10 rupee? Why I am ready to pay 15 rupee? So it means when the sale price is greater than fair value, it indicates the presence of additional financing. It indicates the presence of a loan liability also. So in this case, sale price is greater than fair value, right? So it also indicates a loan liability. It means the buyer lessor has also given a loan of rupees 5 lakh. So the amount exceeding the market value is considered as a loan. So let's try to solve this question. Bank account debit. By what amount the bank account will be debited? कितना पैसा
35
आया?
lakh.
कितना पैसा आया?
35.
35 lakhs.
lakh money received. In this case, what is your to asset PP account, asset derecognition, to asset PP account?
20 lakhs.
20 lakh.
Credit 20 lakh. PP derecognized. When this money came, a loan also came to loan liability, to loan. What is the amount of loan?
5 lakh.
5 lakhs.
5 lakh. Sale price exceeding sale price minus fair value
Fair value.
is your additional financing to loan. Then what you need to do?
Lease liability.
Lease liability. To lease liability. What is your lease liability?
18 lakhs.
The lease liability is
18
is
minus
18 lakh.
5.
To lease liability. 18 lakh is the lease liability.
No, sir.
What is the lease liability?
So 13 lakh.
18 lakh minus 5 lakh.
18 lakh minus 5 lakh, because you know what this seller lessee is going to pay. Seller lessee is going to pay in the next 10 years 18 lakh only. So the present value of the obligation is 18 lakh only. Out of 18 lakh, 5 lakh is already classified into loan. It means the lease liability is technically what? The lease liability is 18 minus 5. Your lease liability is 13 lakh. It is 18 lakh minus 5 lakh. यही होगा ना?
Yes, sir.
18 lakh minus 5 lakh. Now you need to create right of use asset. Right of use asset account debit. What is the value? Present value of lease liability 13 lakh multiply by what? Multiply by carrying value in the books of accounts, divide by fair value. Divide by fair value of the asset, market value of the asset. Okay. So this is my present value of lease liability, which is excluding loan. excluding loan into carrying value divided by fair value. Into carrying value divided by fair value. Into carrying value divided by fair value. Okay. Then where the balancing figure will go?
Profit and loss account.
To gain or loss on sale and leaseback. I don't know whether gain is there or loss is there. 35 plus 8 minus 20 minus 5 minus 30. 5.67 is the gain. It's a balancing.
It's again.
Balancing. Friends, now let's solve a question from ICAI study material. A very, very, very important question. So let me take you on the PPT. Please confirm if my PPT is visible.
Visible.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Illustration number 45. Sale and leaseback transaction.
Sir,
Whether
in the existing example, sir, the sale price is less than 30 lakhs. You say example 25 lakhs.
Then it is a, then there is no additional financing now. So then there is a distress sale. Okay. Then you will not create a loan accounting. It means it's an actual kind of a transaction. Okay. So might be your lease rentals are staggered in that manner. So, but of course, if it is less than the fair value, you will not create any additional asset, okay, or additional liability. Liability तो हो ही नहीं सकती, पहले पैसा कमाया है, right?
Okay,
Yes.
sir, that loan liability will not exceed on that case.
Yeah. Sale and leaseback transaction. So in your ICAI study material, just looking at the question, you will be able to understand what is the topic. But will you be able to, get this hint in your exam? Answer is no. Okay. Yeah. So discuss this question, and after reading the question, you have to get the hint as per your preparation of the subject. An entity which is a seller lessee. It means it is a question of sale and leaseback. An entity which is a seller lessee sells a building to another entity who is a buyer lessor. For cash of rupees 30 lakh. Means what is the sale price?
30 lakhs.
30 lakhs. Immediately before the transaction, the building is carried at a cost of 15 lakh. What is the carrying value of building?
15 lakhs.
15 lakh. At the same time, seller lessee enters into a contract with the buyer lessor for the right to use the building for 20 years. What is the life of the ROU? What is the lease term?
20 years.
With annual payments of 2 lakh payable at the end of each year. These are the annual payments given. So what is the total payment which have been paid over the lease term?
40 lakhs.
40 lakh. It is a total payment. But what is the present value? We need to look at. The terms and conditions of the transaction are such that transfer of the building by the seller lessee satisfy the requirement for determining when a performance obligation is satisfied in Ind AS 115, revenue from contract with the customers. Okay. The fair value of the building at the date of sale is 27 lakh. What is my sale price?
30 lakhs.
What is my fair value at the date of sale?
27 lakhs.
27.
Market value is 27 lakh. What does it mean? Why somebody will pay me extra more than the market value? Why?
It is 3 lakh loan amount.
Loan amount.
3 lakh is the loan amount. Okay. See, we are reading this question, and we are also reading, interpreting, and also giving the facts for our solution. Yes, you are right. It is 3 lakh is your loan. Means this seller lessee has taken a loan also. Initial direct cost, if any, are to be ignored. The interest rate implicit in the lease is 12%. What is your discount rate? 12%,
12%.
which is readily determinable by the seller lessee. Okay. Buyer lessor classifies the lease of the building as an operating lease. So buyer lessor, what buyer lessor has classified?
Operating.
Buyer lessor has classifies this lease as a operating lease, means lessor classification is operating lease, and the lessee classification is ROU, lease liability, and whatever right lessee has sold, he will recognize a gain on sale and leaseback. How should the said transaction be accounted for by the seller lessee and the buyer lessor, both in the books of the lessor also, in the books of the lessee also? Shall we solve this question? Illustration number 45.
Yes.
Sir.
Illustration number 45 of ICAI study material. Yes. What the facts are given from the question? Sale price. Sale price is 30 lakh. 30 lakhs. What is my carrying value? 15 lakhs now. Carrying value is 15 lakh now.
15 lakhs, yes.
What is my fair value?
27 lakhs.
27 lakhs. Okay. What is the lease term?
20 years.
20 years. What is my lease rent? Annual lease
20
rent?
2 lakhs.
2 lakhs.
2 lakhs.
At the end of the year.
Lease rent end of the year.
You ask us to write this, sir, every time. You specifically write what is the beginning or end, that we need to write it down.
Yeah. Yes. These are the small, suggestions, but it will give you a big impact in your exam. It will give you big impact. 2 lakh rupees. Okay. Any other information? Discount rate.
Discount rate
12%.
12%. Now let's solve this question one by one. Okay. Let's solve this question. We have to solve this question in the books of the lessor and lessee both, right? Step number 1, solution in the books of seller lessee. Accounting solution. Accounting in the books of seller lessee. Accounting in the books of seller lessee. Step number 1. What is my step number 1? My step number 1 is identify the amount received and loan component, if any. Amount is in loan component, if any. What is my amount received?
30 lakhs.
30 lakhs.
Is there any loan component in this case?
Yes, sir.
3 lakhs.
Sale price is 30 lakhs, fair value is 27.
Sale price minus fair value. Sale price minus fair value. So 30 minus 27. 3 lakhs. Right? Identify the amount received and the loan component, if any. Then you need to de-recognize the existing asset. Step number 2. Simple. De-recognize. I need to de-recognize the existing asset. So what is the de-recognition value? What is the carrying value which I'm going to de-recognize?
15 lakhs.
15 lakhs.
De-recognize the existing asset. Step number 3. What is my step number 3? Compute the present value of future lease payment. Yes or no? Because we don't know the present value. No, we have the full value. 2 lakh rupee annual rental and 20 year is the lease term. Third, compute The PV of, compute the present value of future lease payment. Compute the PV of future lease payment, PV of the future lease payment. Let me write complete. Future lease rental. Compute the present value of the future lease payment. What is my present value of future lease payment? How can I compute? Again, same year, year, then amount, then PVF at the rate of 12%, then बताओ तो सही उसके बाद क्या? PV,
Present value.
present value. You guys are not enjoying my class, right?
We
No,
are
sir.
enjoying very much.
No,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Enjoying?
Very much enjoying, sir.
Very much enjoying. Very good. I'm not teaching like a teacher. I'm teaching like a student. See how I'm writing, how I'm putting these things so that you guys take me as your friend, not as your teacher, right? Yes. What is your amount? 2 lakh.
2 lakhs.
2 lakh. 2 lakh is the lease rental for 20 years. Okay. What is the present value factor? 1 divided by 1.12.
1.12.
1 divided by 1.12 equal to 1 divided by 1.12 divided by 1.12, right? Is this right?
Round off.
Yes. Yeah. I hope this is right. Yes.
Sir, alternatively, we can do for 20 years PVAF
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
can do that.
Yes, you can do that. So what is your present value of the lease payment? 1493,889. 1493,889. Okay. This is your present value of future lease payment. This is your present value of future lease payments. Right. 1493,889. So you can also take this as a round figure of 1494. Okay. Round. Just a minute. $14,93890, or you can round off in hundreds, right? Round off in hundreds minus 14,93,900. This is your present value of future lease payments. Okay, I have rounded off 14,93,900. So what is my present value of future lease payment? My present value of future lease payment, FLP, is how much? 14.9390 lakhs. This is my present value. So what is my lease liability? My lease liability is equal to present value of future lease payment. My lease liability is this much. And what is my loan liability? So tell me, my present value of future lease payment is this much only. So just a minute. What is my loan liability? My total liability is 1493,900. What is my loan liability?
3 lakh.
3 lakh.
3 lakh is my loan liability. It is already computed 3 lakh. So what is my lease liability? My lease
11.
liability is 11,93,900, right? So I got the present value of the lease liability excluding the loan liability, right? Step number 4. Now, what is my step number 4? I got the lease liability. Step number 4 क्या है? Compute the right of use asset. ROU asset. What is this ROU asset? It is value of right retained. When you sell this asset and got the asset on lease basis, so you have retained the right of how many years for using this asset?
Yes.
20 ईयर के लिए आपने वापस ले जाना है एसेट यूज करने के लिए. आपने 20 ईयर के लिए वापस लिया ना एसेट यूज करने के लिए.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is how we are doing the calculation. So compute the right of use asset, value of right retained. And what is the value of this right retained? What is the value of this right retain? Present value of future lease payment. कैसे निकालेंगे इसको? अभी मैंने बताया था ना,
Sir, we
present
will
value of future lease payment, which is nothing, which is क्या होता है? Lease liability.
Lease liability.
Liability excluding loan component. Excluding loan component, right? Multiply by carrying value, divide by fair value.
Fair value.
So what is this? 11,93900 multiply by what is your carrying value in the books?
30
Carrying
lakhs.
value तो आपकी 15 lakh थी.
15 lakhs.
What is your fair value? 27 lakh थी. So this will come out as 663,278. This will come out as 663,278, right? So now step number 5. Step number 5. Compute gain and loss on sale and leaseback. Compute gain and loss on sale and leaseback. वो कैसे निकालेंगे? Balancing figure. Balancing figure. Balancing figure. Right? So accounting entry से निकालने. Accounting entry at the time of sale and on the commencement date. Accounting entry at the time of sale and commencement date. बैंक अकाउंट डेबिट कितने से होगा? बैंक अकाउंट डेबिट बैंक कितने से
30
डेबिट होगा? आप कर चुके हो ना, पहले कर चुके हो. सो पूरा अमाउंट लिखता हूँ. 35 लाख 30 लाख था ना?
30 lakhs.
Yes.
बैंक अकाउंट डेबिट इज 30 लाख. उसके बाद नेक्स्ट एंट्री फटाफट बताओ. अब तो सारे नंबर्स पता है आपको.
ROE asset.
ROU asset. Bank account debit. ROU asset. Debit. How much is your ROU asset debit?
663,278.
278. Then your 2 asset derecognized. 2 asset PP building. कितने से?
15 lakhs.
Credit. 15 lakh. 2 loan liability. How much is the loan liability?
3 lakhs.
3 lakhs.
3 lakh. 2 lease liability. How much is the lease liability?
11 lakhs.
11,93,900.
11,93,900. Okay, right. So where the balance will go? Your total of this plus this is this much. Debit side is 36,63,278. Credit side is this plus this plus this 29,93. It means there is a gain to gain on sale and leaseback.
6,69,378.
Credit 6 lakh. So what is this? This plus this minus this minus this minus this. Okay, 669,378. This is the gain on sale and leaseback. This is your balancing figure. I hope with this example, with this question of ICAI study material and my example, you guys have been able to understand the accounting treatment of sale and leaseback transaction. After applying these all steps,
Yes,
probably you are thinking that it is very easy, right? But before knowing, it is considered as one of the most complex topic. But when you understand it, it is a very simplest topic. You just need to apply your mind. That's all, right?
Yes, sir.
Now
Very
let's do the So this is accounting entry at the time of sale and on the commencement date. What is the subsequent entry? What is the subsequent entry? ये तो commencement date पे subsequent entry क्या होंगी?
So
ये सब हम
depreciation.
revision ही कर रहे हैं.
As usual, we will build the lease liability account and ROE depreciation. All the
ROE
things we will do.
depreciation you will do. So depreciation account debit to accumulated to ROE or accumulated depreciation, right? Accumulated depreciation, right? Credit. Yes, 663,278 divided by 20. Then what about then you have to pay the lease rentals. Yes, you have to pay the lease rental.
Interest expense.
Interest on lease liability also you have to make a payment of lease liability interest. Okay, so what you are required to do, you have to prepare a schedule of lease liability and loan liability, right?
Yes.
So make a schedule of lease liability and loan liability. A schedule of lease liability and loan liability. While this is not the ask, but why I am doing this, so that you will have an entire picture. आपका रिवीजन भी साथ साथ ही हो रहा है, नहीं हो रहा है क्या?
हो रहा है सर.
हो रहा है ना? Very good. Yes, just a minute. Year opening balance, interest expenses at the rate of 12%, lease payment, and just lease payment and closing balance. How many years? 20. 20 years, है ना?
Yes sir.
And what is the amount? Amount is 2 lakh rupees every year. 20 years. What is the opening balance? What is the opening balance of the liability? Total liability का opening balance क्या है? 1493 है ना?
11,93,900.
1493,900. So 11,93,900 is lease liability. 3 lakh is the loan liability. But you are paying in one go. You are paying rental every year. You are paying 2 lakh rupee. This 2 lakh rupees you are paying for two part. One for payment of loan and one for payment of lease liability, right? So the total liability and the interest rate is 12% only. You are paying at the end. So number तो same ही आएंगे. So your opening balance is 1493. What is your interest expense? Multiply by 12%.
Sir, I thought of segregating the two liabilities separately, prepare the loans liability for separately, lease liability for separately, and account it.
That you can also do. That you can also do, right? But there is no any difference, right? So 2 lakh rupees is my amount, and this is my closing balance. Okay, this is my closing balance. Just a minute.
Yeah, if somebody is asked what is the loan liability interest cost, what is the lease liability interest cost, in that case it will be useful.
Yes, you can do that also. I agree with you. You can do that also. Okay. Yes, this will become your opening balance. Okay, so this is your loan liability and lease liability schedule. Your interest expense is there. So now you have to record the interest expense. You have to record the interest expense. Interest expense on lease liability and interest expense on the loan liability, both, right? So interest expense account debit to lease plus loan liability. If you want to split it, Saminathan, you can split it also, right? You just need to split that in the ratio of loan is to liability. आप 3 lakh is to 11,93,900 की ratio में आप उसको split भी कर सकते हो. Okay, you can do that also. This is your P&L, and then you have to make a payment entry. What is the payment entry? Liability.
Lease liability debit.
So liability. Lease plus. Yes, liability debit. Lease plus loan liability debit to
bank.
Right, this is your debit, right? 2 lakh rupees. Every year. Yes. So these are the entries. Okay. So now let's come to the accounting in the books of the buyer lessor. What will the accounting in the books of the buyer lessor? क्या accounting होगी? Accounting in the books of
he booked that operating lease, I believe. The question.
So initial recognition, what buyer lessor will do? Initial recognition. Buyer lessor will do building PP account debit. Building PP account debit, right? He has bought this building. 2. Bank account. What is the amount he has paid? What is the amount he has paid? 30 lakh. Right?
Yeah,
He has
that's the
paid
same.
30 lakh.
Same
He has
case is
paid 30 lakh now.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
But at what value he will debit the building? What value he will debit the building? 27 lakh market value, because he has given a loan. He has given a loan. Loan asset account debit. उधर आपने लोन लाइबिलिटी दिखाया था ना, तो इधर भी तो लोन एसेट दिखाओगे. So one is PP, another one is financial asset.
Yes, sir. That recognition will come into the PP standard. The fair value is available now. Then we
Yes.
can run fair value basis.
What is the subsequent accounting? What is the subsequent accounting? Subsequent accounting क्या होगी रिपोर्टिंग डेट पे? Lessor will depreciate the building over the useful life, right? And lessor will recognize the lease rental.
Yes,
क्या
sir.
होगी? Subsequent accounting is lessor will depreciate the building over the useful life. उसका एसेट है ना ये. पीपी क्या, पीपी स्टैंडर्ड में हमने पढ़ा है ना डेप्रिसिएशन.
Yes, sir.
Number 2, lessor will recognize the lease rental. Lessor will recognize the lease rental. Okay, lessor will recognize the lease rental. So what is the lease rental accounting, and at what value lessor will recognize the lease rental? At what value lessor will recognize the lease rental? So
That is
every time lessor is getting 2 lakh rupee.
Yes, sir.
And lessor has given a loan. It's a operating lease and lessor has given a loan at the rate of 12%. So in this case, you have to do the accounting of receipt of lease rental, and you have to do the accounting of receipt of loan, repayment of loan principal and loan interest also. इसमें दो चीजें हैं ना. As a lessor, I am recovering rent and I am also collecting my EMI. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. तो कैसे करूंगा मैं उसको? If you will see what is the annual lease payment, if you see what is the annual lease payment,
Sir, 2 lakhs.
2 lakh, the annual lease payment is 2 lakh. So annual lease payment. What is annual lease payment? 2 lakh. What is the loan liability? What is the loan amount and what is the lease? What is the PV of the lease? What is the PV of lease excluding loan?
1193,900.
3 lakh and 1193,900. 900. Right? Okay. So tell me, what is my lease? What is my payment relating to loan? What is my payment relating to loan? And what is my payment relating to lease? क्या है मेरी payment relating to loan and relating to lease? 2 lakh multiply by 3 lakh divide by this. 2 lakh multiply by 1193 divide by 1493. This is my payment relating to loan and relating to lease.
Sir, I have small query, sir. I think that lessor is accounting as an operating lease, right?
Yes. Because it's a building now, and the question is also silent, right? And even the question is silent about subsequent accounting. I am doing the subsequent accounting so that you will be able to understand it, right? So yes. So now what is my lease rental income every year? Every year, what lessor will recognize as a lease rental income? Bank account debit to lease rental. इट्स एन ऑपरेटिंग लीज ना, टू लीज रेंटल, क्रेडिट डेबिट क्रेडिट। इस एंट्री में कोई डाउट तो नहीं है ना किसी को? इज देयर एनी डाउट इन दिस एंट्री 159837? एनी डाउट ऑन दिस एंट्री? थर्ड, what is the third aspect? Third, lessor will recognize the interest income and lessor will recognize the interest income and receipt of loan, EMI, loan principal. So I need to make a schedule for this. What is the schedule? Let me make a schedule for 20 years for this loan part. यहां तक कोई डाउट तो नहीं है ना? Is there any doubt up to this level?
No, sir.
आपको पता नहीं मैं क्यों कर रहा हूं इंटरेस्ट इनकम? because you are recovering interest and you are also recovering principal. So what is the opening balance of the loan? 3 lakh. 12% income. What is my amount received? In 2 lakh every year? 4163. 4163. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
41. This is the portion. So this is my, just a minute. Yes. See, this is the amount I will receive, the total amount. This is my interest income, right? So the difference is 3 lakh. So every year I'll recognize interest income and I'll recognize the receipt of principal. Okay. So my loan asset account debit to what? To interest income credit. What is my loan asset debit? My loan asset my interest income is 36,000 in the first year. So my interest income will be credited by this and my loan asset will be debited by this amount. The next entry is bank account debit to what? To loan asset account credit. By what amount? By EMI, by the payment 40163, right? So what you have done? First, initial recognition, you have recognized your PP 27 lakh. The useful life is not there. So whatever useful life, you will recognize the depreciation. Then there is a loan asset, right? So you have done the accounting for loan asset, interest income and the repayment. And then you are also receiving the lease rental. So you have done the lease rental accounting, bank to lease rental. So friends, today we have covered the sale and leaseback aspect, sublease aspect, sublease accounting, and with 2 new questions from 116. So friends, with this, I have completed Ind AS 116, right? We have completed a lot of concept, definition of lease term. We have covered the lease payment concept. We have covered the modification. We have covered the separation of lease and non-lease component. We have covered the initial recognition and measurement of right of use asset, lease liability, subsequent measurement of right of use asset and lease liability, variable rents, right? We have also covered the lessor accounting. We have covered the operating lease accounting, finance lease accounting, then sublease accounting, then sale and leaseback accounting. So we covered a lot of concept in the last 6 days, friends. Today is my last class. So while today's class was scheduled as Ind AS 40, but as I told you, Institute has given one more class so that I can do more questions and more concepts can be elaborated. Friends, Ind AS 40 Institute will schedule as per the calendar's availability, but probably from the next class, the new faculty will come. I will not come. So if you have any question, you can write me. If you have any question, you can write me. Let me write my mobile number. So I will not give my mobile number right here. You can write on my email and I will share my mobile number there. casalogarg@gmail.com. If you have any query, you can write there, right? With your mobile number. You can put your mobile number. I'll call you. like I called Saminathan and I called one more student in last 15-20 days or last 1 month, right? So cscsalokgarg@gmail.com is my email ID. If you want to write any questions, you can. If you have any query, yes, you can write it to me. Or if you want to discuss, you can just drop your phone number and you can just refer the context. Sir, this is my query. I wanted to discuss. Please call me as per your convenience. Okay. Thank you so much, friends. And I thoroughly enjoyed, taking a session with all of you, discussing with all of you. You are a great student, I must say. And all the best for your future, right? Wish you all the best. If you have any question on any Ind AS, right? Don't hesitate. Feel free to reach out to me at cscsalokgarg@gmail.com. Might be I will not be able to reply instantly, but yes, like Saminathan can tell that I have also responded him after a week or so, right? Yeah, thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed the session. I hope you have understood Ind AS 116.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We have enjoyed very much.
Yes,
Will
sir.
you be teaching again?
Yeah. So might be few standards I will be taking again, few standards, but not in the next 1 or 2 months. The new faculty will come for the different standards. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I thought that
Thank you,
Indians is
sir.
one of the difficult standard. Now, after your lecture, it's very easy to me, like very simple standard to me. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Chitra,
Thank you, sir.
Nandini,
Thank you.
Sanjay, Ayush, Mamta. Thanks, everyone. Neha. Thanks to all the students. Bye. Take care. Session is over.